Celeste is a video game that I absolutely love. I casually speedrun it, so I thought, wait a minute, what if I go to the variant section and ramp up the speed to try to beat the game at almost twice the speed? This is the story of that challenge. Forsaken City went pretty well. I soon discovered that most of my speedrun fancy tricks were doable if I reacted quickly enough. But I struggled in some rooms, especially the ones that implied ledge grabbing. There is this particular room that has two traffic light platforms, and if you stand in them for too long you get smashed into the ceiling. That one was pretty tough. I had quite some trouble getting past it as the platforms moved really fast, but I barely managed to dodge death and escape it. I also must say that playing the game like this makes Madeline feel like a total badass when things work out, dashing and jumping at a super fast pace through the Forsaken City. I even managed to perform the final trick of the chapter, which I consider was quite a feat. Next was the old side, which was fairly easy. Using the space platforms was not challenging, even though they were a couple of tricky rooms. However, everything changed when my other self started chasing after me. Dark Madeline also moved at a really fast-paced velocity, so I had to think quickly and I couldn't stay anywhere for much time. Getting past the last two rooms was really difficult, and it required that I played at my absolute best. I mean, look at this shit, it is insane! After that, I reached the information site and finished the chapter with ease. Celestial Resort is one of the hardest speedrun sections of this game, so I thought this one would be really tough. And I was really surprised when I started playing it, and indeed, it was really tough. I died a lot in this chapter and conquering every item to clean up wasn't easy. But I persevered, trying to react as fast as possible and being precise enough with my jumps and dashes. While escaping a resort, I decided to perform a skip that is really complicated in the any percent route. You basically have to jump while grabbing a ledge, move to the left, and in a 2-frame window perform a crouch dash. Madeline becomes invincible for some reason and you are able to cross to the other side, skipping a couple rooms in the process. I must say that I'm not able to get this skip on normal speedruns consistently yet, as I am still a beginner. Here's what happened. The escape sequence at the end of the chapter was very hard, but goddamn it looked fucking cool. Escaping Mr. Oshi through a lot of obstacles while he's charging at lightning speed is the most anime shit I've ever seen. The last room was a nightmare, and I died a lot of times, most of them because Mr. Oshi, the other ones because of the dust creatures. I also died a couple of times really close to the finish line, which was frustrating, but I summoned all my obstination and I kept trying until I made it. And hey, I only died 143 times in the process. Golden Ridge has my least favorite mechanic of them all. Wind. But combine wind with extra speed and this chapter was ridiculous. The first half of it wasn't so hard, although I had to try the spike skip a lot of times before achieving it, but in the second half things went south incredibly fast. The wind kept making me miss the ledges, dash in weird directions, miss platforms. It wasn't soul crashing, but oh boy was I pissed. The last rooms with the extreme wind and the snowballs being thrown at you. Oh, by the way, who throws these snowballs? Why do they hit me so much? Well, what is going on here? What's the backstory of the person that is throwing the snowballs? Anyways, it was quite a challenge to dodge everything while advancing against the fierce wind. The last room wasn't that hard, and I did it on my first try, but I want to show you how cool this looks, so I'm going to shut up for a second and let you see it for yourselves. Mirror Temple is a weird one. It starts fairly easy, especially if you use the speedrun skips, but it also has one of the hardest sections of the game and two sort of complicated skips. The first one consists of doing a hyper dash in a moving platform in a perfect angle to dodge 2 rows of spikes. Performing this at this speed should have been really difficult, but I did it on my second attempt. Might I be good at this game, people? The other skip consists of a reverse extended super, which makes you able to barely reach the last platform. I honestly find this one a lot easier than the first one. However, the hard part of this level is dealing with these horrific Lovecraftian creatures, which by the way are programmed to shatter your hopes and end your dreams. Their homing trajectories are really difficult to dodge. Sometimes they appear to be sentient and wait for you to commit a mistake and then they charge their attack. These monsters are really tough to deal with, and the faster speed made them more dangerous, and also they recover faster. So yeah, I was pretty fucked. You find this not difficult at all, you might say? Then how about you have to transport your hipster friend who somehow got inside of a crystal block while dealing with Lovecraftian horrors that will kill you on the spot. This section was absolutely the cruelest one, and I died, and I died, and I died, and I died until I reached this mother eye and blasted 70 kilos of pure hipster vintage raw power and destroyed it. Chapter 6 is my favorite one, if I have to be honest. I love this chapter. However, as I started moving with the golden feathers of the starting room, I soon discovered how hard it was to control them at this speed. But well, that was a problem for future me, because now I just went down to the depths of the mountain and tried to get back with these funny blocks that, look at them, they sound so fucking funny compared to the regular playthrough. I somehow got the ledge skip at my second try and kept advancing. Ancient pinballs were introduced in the following rooms and they seemed fine for now, although it was a bit complicated to hit them correctly and carrying momentum. The room with the 3 pinballs was really tough, for example, and after it my fears materialized, as I had to use a golden feather and dodge a lot of ancient pinballs. It was horrible. From this point, each time a golden feather had to be used, it was terribly challenging. Despite everything, I entered the other self-boss fight with high hopes. The first stage wasn't that hard. Projectiles moved a lot faster and were harder to dodge, but it was challenging in a fun way. Do you know what wasn't fun? The second stage and all the fucking golden feathers you have to use to get close to Dark Madeline. There was one room in which I had to dash out of that feather early in order to avoid death, and then somehow avoid getting killed by a laser while approaching my other self. The end of the fight ramped up even more the difficulty, but after many attempts I managed to conquer the chapter. I had some character development and also developed another dash. The summit awaits. So here I was, after everything I had been through, the final push. The first meters of the mountain were not that hard, although in some situations I made it barely, dodging death. I also thought the Celestial Resort section would be the end of my sanity, but I got through it without dying too much. Maybe at this point I was used to everything moving super fast and my reaction times had adapted to the new pace, but I felt pretty confident as I slowly climbed Mount Celeste. Even Golden Ridge wasn't that hard. Wind was a minor inconvenience and Mirror Temple just had a couple of rough moments. After I climbed more than 2,500 meters, I reached the last stage, just 30 flags beyond me. The summit was awaiting. I used every trick in the book for this part. The first 10 flags were fairly easy, even though dealing with the wind pushing me down was sometimes really annoying. Flag 22 was particularly tricky, as I had to precisely dash upwards at the height of my jumps to keep going. The next 10 flags weren't that bad, except for flag 14, my arch nemesis. This section is kind of a resistance challenge. You advance while slowly diminishing your stamina, and if you don't make it high enough, you can make the final jump. Flag 9 is also among my least favorite ones, and dealing with it at a faster pace made me go mad for some time before I was lucky enough to make it past the spikes. Flag number 7 was really cool as I bounced off the wall like a ninja, and after I dealt with the horrible golden feathers at flag 3, I knew it. I was going to reach it. Mount Celeste was going to be conquered. I made it to flag 1 first try and kept advancing as the music slowly faded away, and I saw the red flagpole in the distance, on the top of the mountain. I made the last couple jumps, and there I was, with Dark Madeline, contemplating my journey and all the challenges I had to face. I conquered them all. Upon starting chapter 8, I saw the old lady by the entrance of the mountain and rapidly advanced into the core. The main mechanic this chapter adds is that Madeline's dash does not reset when you touch the ground, so I had to be extra careful and precise with my movements. At first, the magma blocks and the fireballs weren't much of a problem, and I didn't die as much in the first couple of rooms. Then, suddenly, the core froze and everything I had learned for the last minutes was good for nothing. I tried to go back to the main entrance, which was a little bit rough, and then I used the now frozen fireballs to keep going up. Sure, everything moving faster made things a lot more difficult, but so far there hadn't been any major hiccups. Yet. I kept advancing, switching stances and bouncing off frozen fireballs and magma blocks alike, telling through Madeline's movements a beautiful song of ice and fire. And then, the calamity began. Rotating fireballs at high speed, combining magma blocks with the Aztec pinballs from Chapter 6, switching stances between Hell and Antarctica, and on top of all that, remember that my dash didn't reset even if I touched the ground. I mean, look at the shit I was pulling off. Dodging dozens of frozen fireballs, sliding through factory rails, narrowly surviving. Reaching the core of Mount Celeste wouldn't be easy. And then, the lava started to rise. So now I had to deal with Celeste's increased speed, combined with a rising sea of lava that didn't let me doubt for half a second what should be my next move. It was complicated, sure. I died a lot, sure. But it also looked amazing. Like Madeline was yet again a ninja wearing Hermes boots. Frozen Hell didn't let me catch a break neither, as the ice spikes slowly ascended after me. I had to resort to wall bounces to escape the deadly ice spikes, and there was a point of this climb to the core where I had to deal with this. I won't even explain it, I'll just show it. Weskis, put the clip up, please.
How the fuck do I get out of here? Help me!
After more time that I am comfortable to admit to, I reached the next room and beat it on my first try, which was quite impressive. Now I had to deal with the rising lava menace and the ice spikes slowly coming down for me, changing stances every now and then to keep advancing. And when I thought this couldn't get more intense, my worst enemy came once again to induce me into despair.
The golden feather.
I am not sure if you can appreciate it enough in this video, but controlling Madeline in this state at increased speed was a nightmare. I kept diving into lava, getting hit by fireballs or missing the trajectory of the golden feathers. In any case, this was the room that broke me. I failed so many times that I genuinely thought this was not possible to accomplish for a guy like me, and I felt very tempted to just forfeit and scrap this little video sequel that we knew you guys wanted. However, Celeste is not about giving up. It is a beautiful game about coming to terms, finding inner peace, and the necessary resolve to keep climbing. And that's exactly what I fucking did. On the next room, something weird was happening. There were pink and blue platforms that I had never seen before, popping in and out of existence every second or so. It took some time to adjust myself to them, but after a couple of minutes I got the gist of it and kept going until I saw a cassette in the distance. Could that be it? Was that the ending of the chapter? I kept trying and trying and trying, getting roasted by the fireballs or the sea of lava, until I managed to survive the room and reach for the cassette. And that was it. I arrived at the center of Mount Celeste, and there, in that peaceful void, I found the heart of the mountain. The core had been conquered, and Madeline's journey could now come to an end, giving her the chance to spend some time with his hipster friend, the CEO ghost, or the old lady and the bird. Right? 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 After conquering the core, only one thing was left to truly say that I had beaten Celeste, but faster. And that was Farewell, the 9th chapter of the game, consisting of 9 segments that are the ultimate test of skill. It has been a long journey, and now I have finally finished. This is the story of how I cleared Farewell in Celeste, but faster. Alright, we are in, and the first screen doesn't seem so bad, and oh look at that, I cleared it in my second attempt. Cool. Maybe this is not going to be as hard as people have warned me in the comments. Let's see how the next screen goes. Yeah, the thing is I figured out I didn't need to abide by the rules. So far, the second segment, which is called Singular, has opened with challenges that require both a deep understanding of the game and using every mechanic available to make it. A great example of this is screen number 4, in which inertia plays a key role and any slip-up leads to Madeline getting electrocuted. The next screen is also quite representative of Farewell, as most of these felt like a puzzle that I had to solve by gameplay. These falling platforms are fairly easy, but you need to get Madeline to the final one without dashing. So how do you do that? Well, with trial and error. Always with trial and error. Lots of trial and error. I kept advancing through this whimsical landscape and okay, that is not how it's done. Let me check. Oh, so that's how it works. Makes sense. And here we have the first new mechanic of Farewell, Puffish. I only had played Farewell once before this video, but I remembered well enough these bastards. Jump on them, get an extra bounce. Go near the side and making them explode, bounce off of them. Nightmare fuel, these little creatures. Although this first room with them didn't go that bad though. The next few screens got more complicated as each one posed a harder challenge involving puffishes. Nothing scary so far, but the next level started introducing mechanics from earlier chapters and combined them with the puffish. And soon enough I realized how tight were some of the reaction times in which I had to dash, jump, grab, or whatever insane combo the devs required of me. The end of Singular had me going through a dash crazy bonanza in a labyrinth of electricity, and although it was very rough, I managed to come out on top and advance to the next segment, which is called Power Source. This segment introduces one of the most iconic mechanics of Farewell, which is the jellyfish. With the jellyfish, you can float, regain height with your dash, throw it to activate coins, and die in a lot of new and creative ways. The first rooms with it went really well and I actually had fun. And then I stumbled upon the bluebird I was chasing and he set up some locks that didn't let me follow him, so now Celeste turned into a Metroidvania, in which I had to find power sources to shut off electricity and keys distributed everywhere to open those damn locks. And so I did, after a lot of trouble, and went up right into the skies. I feel like I need to give a special honor mention to the room in which you need to keep going up with a jellyfish and 2 moving platforms. That at twice the speed was insane and a good taste of what was ahead of me. Remembered marked my rise to the skies with the almighty jellyfish. In the first room I felt like a balloon that had been invited to the Cactus annual party, and as a result I died many times. But with enough perseverance I was able to crash the party and leave unnoticed and without getting spiked. For the next screen I'll show you my winning attempt and I'll let it speak for me. That was sick as hell, right? Well, could you imagine how many tries took that? You couldn't, right? Try to guess in the comment section. After those 2 nightmares, I actually had quite some fun exploring the dreamlike world of Remembered, and the rooms that I traversed weren't actually that bad, and the mechanics and gimmicks you had to use were really clever. I might suffer a lot doing these challenges, but man, I cannot stress enough how good is Celeste. It is an absolute masterpiece. I don't know, I just wanted to say that out loud. I rode the jellyfish and threw it to gather blue coins, and that almost felt like a roller coaster, and then this Lovecraftian horror appeared before me. This moving platform puffish combined abomination induced me the biggest despair imaginable. How the hell was I supposed to... And that's basically how you beat this game and become a millionaire. The next room combined a moving platform and a jellyfish, and although it wasn't as bad as the previous one, I couldn't ignore that the difficulty ramp was spiking very frequently on that last section. But alas, I got to clear the room after some tries and I reached the heart. We did it! We have beaten Farewell, but faster. Thank you so much for watching this video. What? I have to keep going? Ah! Hey, don't run away, you little glitchy bird. I'll get you. Event Horizon started pretty chill, even though I didn't follow the intended rules at all. And hey, look, it's the bluebird. Hey, wait, come back. Oh great, and now the world is falling apart. Oh well. Here the mechanics from Chapter 8, The Core, make a return, bringing the most devilish levels I've seen in a video game thus far. Look at the timer. Okay. That was just one room. There are 74 more left. Someone end my suffering, please. The next challenge revolved around using a Kevin block to advance through the level, but each time you used it, the platform kept getting narrower. This one was really fun, and even though it was really difficult, I was immensely satisfied when I surpassed it and felt like a true champion of Celeste. Then we had the light blocks, but faster edition, and to top it all off, a moving block that I had to keep returning to while grabbing blue coins. As you can see, Farewell tests every facet of the game and expects you to master each mechanic, each technique, each little nuance the game has, so obviously the next step is to go minimalist. No gimmicks, no crap. Just complex mechanics at insane reaction times. This may not look like it, but I can guarantee you it is 100% harder than everything you have seen prior. Too tight, too precise, too fast. Words cannot describe it. Somehow, when you are playing at this speed constantly for hours, you end up getting used to it, and at some point, you start perceiving everything slower than before. And then, you enter the zone. Oh hey, quick reminder, subscribing helps a lot our channel to keep growing, so if you haven't, I'd like to ask you to. Anyways, moving on, the termination started with some good old golden feather and a really clever room in which I had to keep dashing to avoid getting smashed between the spikes. After many tries and a really close call in which I died near at the finish line, I managed to clear it, but I really felt the burnout. I needed to take a break from Celeste, since it was already February and the hardest part had still to be beaten. And then 2 months passed. I kept working on other videos and, if I got to be honest, I did not want to return to Farewell, as I remembered that rooms were getting so tough that clearing each one of them took around 30 minutes to 1 hour. But if I have learned something in my brief history, that is that I am a completionist and that the trilogy of Celeste but faster had to be done. And so, the 10th of April, I returned to Celeste more motivated than ever, ready to surpass my limits and clear Farewell. I conquered the red bubbles, the light stops, the Kevin blocks, even the fearsome gold feathers, until finally, after some many hours, I came out of my stubbornness and found the true meaning of determination. I was going to beat the hell out of this thing. It was a fact. It would happen, sooner or later. Stubbornness brought to the table the color platforms, and after an introductory room that didn't pose much of a challenge, suddenly I had to time my jumps with millimetric precision to pull off insane stunts, finding ways in which I could use the order of the color blocks in my favor. These screens were really fun and a spin on the levels I had been playing so far, and even though they were really hard, I actually enjoyed them a lot. There was one in particular that involved red bubbles, in which I had to design a route that would evade all the color blocks at insane speeds, and that one in particular had my adrenaline pumping straight to my heart, as it required quick reaction times and precision like no other. The last room was actually way easier, and I solved it without running into major problems, and after dodging a few blue and pink blocks, I finally catch the bluebird I had been chasing all this time. Gotcha, bitch! The little bird and I reconciled and we both kept going, traversing the crumbling terrain covered in electricity walls and hoping for the best. The bluebird offered a helping hand, or more precisely, a helping claw, and between him and Battleline, we kept going, each challenge being way harder than the previous one. We're talking about jellyfish insane combos, puffish crazy shenanigans, removing electricity walls, and spaces that were getting so narrow that we could barely move within them. We had the occasional mishap, of course, and there were times in which we felt almost at the end of a long and difficult room, of course, but we kept going. I had found my resolve and, just like Madeline, had found my inner power in reconciliation. I was at peace with this game. It had been 5 months since I began this crazy adventure, and even though the odds were as nefarious as they could get, I had it in me that we were going to be fine. And so we went through the dash blocks room, the moving blocks that I had to set up perfectly to keep bouncing off of them without losing momentum, the ferocious winds in which I had to make it through tiny gaps with the golden feather, and all of those challenges that brought Celeste mechanics to its absolute limits and beyond were nothing compared to what was ahead. I reached the final room of reconciliation, in which I had to catch up with a Kevin block, and when I did, I arrived to my final destination. Farewell's resolution was awaiting. 6 months, one last room, the hardest one yet. Let's begin. Farewell starts with a combination of jellyfish and puffish maneuvers, in which you can die by missing the pufffishes, not performing the dashes correctly, and much more. Then you have to maintain your jellyfish alive somehow by throwing it around until the bluebird comes to help you. Celeste doesn't let you catch a break, as you have to keep alive another jellyfish and start rising with the wind, dodging moving electricity walls, colorful stars, and explosive pufffishes. All of that in pursuit of one blue coin that, in order to get, you need to sacrifice your jellyfish to. After that, you need to fall through a tiny gap and dash at the precise moment to keep falling down. A puffish lets you grab a golden feather there, which you can use to keep advancing until you find a falling platform section that does not forgive any mistake. Once you're at the bottom of the room, the hardest part consists of grabbing and releasing jellyfishes at insane speeds, pushing the reaction times to superhuman abilities, only to arrive at the control panel and keep going with the bluebird and battle line, until you reach a golden feather and, just like Hope, you start to rise from your ashes, and finally, after dashing up and up again with the golden feather, one final dash brings you to... Ah! No! I've been playing this last level for 6 hours. No. Oh. Okay. The golden feather respawns. Phew! That would have been catastrophic. Well, as I was saying, one final dash brings you to Battle Line, who boosts you up to the skies, in which finally you can reunite with Granny and open up to her. Man, what a hard-earned, beautiful conclusion to this 3-part saga. If you have reached this part of the video, you have my gratitude. This has been probably the hardest challenge I have ever set up myself to accomplish, and even if it has taken a lot of time, I'm glad I managed to conquer it. I hope I see you in the future in other Celeste challenges, or even in other videos from different video games. What a fantastic journey. This concludes Celeste, but faster. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again.